But that's what made YouTube genuine. Having the dislike option there, having the dislike count visible is what made YouTube YouTube. That's one of the top things I could argue about this social media platform being greater than other platforms out there that do not have the dislike metric system. I think it's rather interesting that they took this approach. YouTube has been one of the earliest online platforms to adopt, well, social media platform to adopt the whole dislike count from the get-go. And I'm more firmly standing on that side on why the dislike count button should be kept and that feature should stay. Because it's been here for over a decade. What, 15 years now? 14, 15 years? The dislike button has already been here for the longest time. I think they should just keep it. And let's watch this video and see this entire update to YouTube's dislike count. The news has dropped recently that they're going full send, green lighting the fact that they're going to be removing the dislike count button or metric from YouTube. So it's not publicly available. Creators do have the option now to remove the dislike button feature and only keep the like button there and showing the metrics of how many likes a video has, and the dislikes cannot be seen. You can still dislike the video and creators can see it on their creator tab or whatnot on their my channel thing or video creator on YouTube. But if they do decide to use the function, the new function, then the dislike metric is not going to be shown to the average viewer, which could be an alarming thing. And we're going to go ahead and watch this video and commentate and react on the side on, why I think the YouTube dislike count should be kept.
Folks, you may have seen a while back that YouTube announced it was experimenting with making dislike counts private to only the creator of the video. Now, if you're like me, you were surprised by that. I mean, I've always thought seeing the number of dislikes on a video helps us know as viewers if it's a good video or not, if it's a helpful tutorial or not, or if what a creator is saying in their video is generally agreed with or not.
And that's a good take. There are definitely videos out there when I've explored YouTube over the past decade plus that, if there was a tutorial on how to do something like, how to apply stickers or remove stickers from something, or like a how-to video or whatnot, I would always search it up on YouTube. First thing, look at a tutorial, look at this, look at that, settings for CSGO console or how to edit this video on Final Cut Pro. And I've always been on YouTube to look at these tutorials, and I was just always looking at the dislike count when it came to those how-to videos and whether or not it's going to be helpful to me through looking at that dislike metric, through looking at the percentages and seeing whether or not, hey, is this video clickbait? Is this video going to be very helpful? Did this creator miss some points, or is it a biased take? Who knows?
But unfortunately, research teams at YouTube have found there's this whole other use for disliking a video that I had never experienced as a creator, and you may not have either. Apparently, groups of viewers are targeting a video's dislike button to drive up the count, turning it into something like a game with a visible scoreboard. And it's usually just because they don't like the creator or what they stand for.
And that's a good point he makes. For example, I just recently played Lost Ark's closed beta test. And if you guys don't know Lost Ark, it's this MMO ARPG game that released fully in Korea. For the westernized version, it dropped as their closed beta test. And unfortunately, when it came to Lost Ark, there was a lot of misinformation about the game, whether or not it was going to be a pay-to-win game or a pay-to-play game. And there are certainly, just going off topic, there are certainly some pay-to-play aspects in the game, but definitely doesn't categorize as a pay-to-win game. But there's just a whole bunch of misinformation when it came to the game that a lot of creators covering Lost Ark, the game itself, whether it was a closed beta test or currently covering it in the live servers in Korea or Russia, there are a lot of dislikes on those videos. Hell, there are even some creators that I personally follow that have had to turn off their ratio when it came to like or dislikes and leave it blank because a lot of people were, just hating on this creator for, either switching up content and moving from one game to the next, when it came to like Lost Ark, or just in general because they didn't like the game or they didn't like the creator. And I do fully get that. It's really unfortunate. And there is a small number of people who do get hit by that. Hell, even as a content creator, as a very small, growing content creator right now, I could say that I've felt the pressure when it came to the dislikes that I've had on my video. Even if it's just one, I only have a couple of likes on my videos, right? So having this bar like just here, or even like here closer to the middle, could be a little damaging. It could throw off, the little viewers I get when it comes to the algorithm and whether or not it works for me, or whoever's viewing my channel and they see a video, oh my god, this has a lot of dislikes. Um, it has been damaging to me, and it has affected me mentally sometimes. But I do feel like for the most part, dislikes do help, and I get to figure out whether or not a video has fully delivered to my audience, or if my message was not as conveyed as I wanted it to be. Dislikes help me figure that out.
That's a big problem when half of YouTube's mission is to give everyone a voice. So earlier in 2021, YouTube experimented with making the public dislike count private to see if it would help reduce these
Yeah.
coordinated dislike attacks across the platform. And after analysis, they did see a reduction. So the update from YouTube is that the dislike button is staying, but the dislike counts will now be private.
Yep.
You can still dislike videos, and that action will be used to tune your own recommendations, but you won't be able to see the dislike count. Only the creator can find it on the back end if they want.
And that's a little scary when it comes to people creating really weird, fucking uninteresting content, or just content in general that like could be very hateful, could be very hate spewing, or it could just be like really, really clickbaity and really like thrown off. You know what I mean? Hell, if some YouTuber posted an apology video and it wasn't the apology you expect, like from most creators on this platform, if you know what I mean. If they posted an apology video and people start to like it and they hide the dislike count, is it truly an apology video? Some people might be confused when it comes to that video, for example, whether or not it's a genuine apology. They could always, look at the comments, but what happens if they hide the comments as well? If we start hiding these features and, limiting what is showed to the audience or the viewer, I think that's rather dangerous for the platform. A lot of misinformation could be spread this way. I feel like this dislike count removal could be abused, just like the system on Facebook back in, 2016, also back in 2019, 2020, when leading up to the 2020 US presidential election. That's just an example. There are definitely more examples out there on how like these type of systems on social media platforms can be abused. And I feel like, if something's not broken, don't fix it. Yes, it could be broken. I mean, look at people. But this is, people's opinions, right? And I get like a lot of people, especially on the YouTube side, when it comes to being a YouTube employee, don't like the dislikes on their videos, especially when it came to, the whole YouTube rewind thing. But there were a lot of good reasons why those videos were disliked and why they got a lot of hate. If they were very dull, or some people didn't like the creators on it because of some controversy that happened, or that creator just fell off and became a sellout, or who knows. There are a lot of reasons why people dislike videos, and there's a very small percentage of that slice of dislikers that dislike it as just being a troll, dislike bombing the video.
Now, a few common questions we saw from the initial experiment. First, without a public dislike count, how can viewers tell if a video is worth watching?
Exactly.
Again, I kind of had this question too, but it turns out that while viewers might use the dislike count to give them a sense of a video's worth, when the teams looked at the data across millions of viewers and videos in the experiment, they didn't see a noticeable difference in viewership, regardless of whether they could see the dislike count or not.
Yeah, but it's not just about viewership. Like I said, with the whole example with Facebook's campaign when it came to the whole ad campaign and the spread of misinformation on their platform, how are we going to tell as an audience member whether or not this video is worth watching without the dislike ratio? It's kind of the same thing when it comes to movies, right? When it comes to like movie reviews, IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes. How can we tell if a movie's worth watching without, either A, looking at the reviews and looking at whether or not, I want to save a couple bucks and just wait for it to be on pay-per-view, or, watching it in the movie theater and getting a really good experience? How can we tell without the dislike metric? That's a question that we should be asking, and I get that he asks it right here, but he's talking about viewer count and viewership, but he's not talking about it through like an audience's perspective on whether or not this video spreads hate, misinformation, things that the YouTube community is trying to stand for and prevent, but ironically are taking this really windy road of misturns and misdirection on a platform that grew up with the dislike button. A platform that, made it its thing. And that, there might be a small amount of creators that don't like the dislike button, but I do feel like this is taking a very few steps back on what YouTube needs to be in order to grow.
In other words, it didn't really matter if a video had a lot of dislikes or not, they still watched. Next common question.
Yeah, see,
if creators...
he didn't even continue it through the audience's perspective. He's just thinking about it through the creator's perspective and whether or not how much views it gets and if it affects, whatever. Doesn't talk about what happens if it misinformation or like clickbaity things or even like mature things on YouTube that gets past the YouTube censorship system, whether or not it passes that system. And you could tell with dislikes. You could tell real quick whether or not a video is pretty fucked up or what it not seems to be.
Can still see the dislike count on the back end. How's that any different? They can see it if they look for it inside Studio Analytics.
And here it is again through the creator's perspective.
But overall, it's much less likely to cause stress and embarrassment if the count isn't visible to the public. And one more common question, is this because YouTube Rewind got lots of dislikes? No, although there are some teams internally who have learned the hard way what it feels like to get lots of dislikes. Now, this again is about protecting all creators and making sure they have a chance to succeed and feel safe in doing so.
Yeah. See, they cater this a lot towards the creator's perspective. I get that YouTube in general wants to have creators to, prosper as a business or as whatever, as an online influencer, whatever the fuck you want to call it, on this platform. Because, the more creators that get successful on this platform and start to, develop some sort of following, the more viewership, the more clicks on this website, the more ad revenue and the more business YouTube gets, the more profit. But they're really only looking at this out of the creator's perspective. What about the audience member? How the fuck are we going to tell whether or not we're watching a good pirated anime video on YouTube or if it's just this link to some random ass malware website? Oh, and for the record, please do not pirate anime videos. That was just like an old 2011 throwback thing. Buy your shit. Crunchyroll has really good membership stuff. Not sponsored by Crunchyroll, by the way.
All right, so that's the update. I hope it doesn't cause too much frustration. Honestly, I think you're going to get used to it pretty quickly, and keep in mind other platforms
I don't know about that.
Don't even have a dislike button.
And see, so they're trying to compare themselves to other platforms, but that's what made YouTube genuine. Having the dislike option there, having the dislike count visible is what made YouTube YouTube. That's one of the top things I could argue about this social media platform being greater than other platforms out there that do not have the dislike metric system. This is what made YouTube what it is today. And I don't feel like it's a good idea to be removing something from a system that has built its way from the ground up. It's a hard decision. It's a hard decision, and I feel like this is going to be abused in the future. If they implement this system, we're going to see it go live. Like, what, I don't know what the timeline is with this. Maybe in a few days, in a week or whatnot. Maybe at the end of the year. Maybe at the beginning of next year. However, there are going to be a lot of videos out there that we're going to see that definitely abuse the whole dislike count system. And hell, even the most scummiest of online creators out there who misuse this system and really prey on their audience, trying to make a quick buck, they could definitely abuse this system and really scam the fuck out of their audience, however gullible they are, however young they may be, or old, possibly, into buying products that they don't need, into clicking on links and false advertisements that might lead them elsewhere from the YouTube website, or even just like regular, just scummy things about just spewing hate and, you know, making what YouTube's striving to be the polar opposite. Okay, and then we're gonna see part of Philip DeFranco's show about the entire thing on the whole YouTube dislikes thing. And I know he takes kind of a middle ground approach to it, like what are your thoughts, what are your opinions on the thing, but I want to see some of his coverage when it comes to the YouTube's dislike count.
So did YouTube just ruin YouTube? That is the question at the top of today's
Exactly.
show. Also,
It's what made YouTube YouTube.
hi, welcome to the show. Hit that like button. Nice to see you. Yeah,
Yes,
first
sir.
news story
Hit
we're
that
jumping
like
into
button.
Today is YouTube breaking the news this morning that they are getting rid of dislikes. Or rather, more specifically, the button will still be there. The creators can see how many times people have clicked it, but the number will not be viewable to the public. And so with that news, you may be wondering, why? Did the
Why? Exactly. Why are they trying to fix something that's not completely broken? Sort of broken, like a little scratch or a little scuff on a Yu-Gi-Oh card, but it's still there. It's still a whole thing, you know what I mean?
The public reaction to the YouTube rewinds hurt YouTube's feelings? Well, officially, they're saying that is not the reason, and actually, head creator liaison Matt Koval tweeted out and posted a video, writing, I wasn't supportive of this change until I saw the stories from lots of new and small creators trying to make it.
YouTube liaison.
Apparently, groups of viewers are
What a
targeting
tag.
a video's dislike button to drive up the count,
Yup.
turning it into something like a game with a visible scoreboard. And it's usually just because they don't like the creator or what they stand for.
Yep.
That's a big problem when half of YouTube's mission is to give everyone a voice.
And then adding later in the video that as they were testing this,
YouTube's mission. There is more to YouTube's mission than completely removing the dislike feature. For example, false copyright claims on people's videos and why the fuck they don't get fixed fast enough for creators, something that you're trying to advertise the dislike button towards, or remove the removal of the dislike button towards. Why aren't creators getting faster responses when it comes to false copyright claims on their videos by bots or people who are trying to make a quick buck on these people's videos or these creators' videos? That's something that should be part of YouTube's mission to fix, than something as trivial as the dislike button.
that is the news
For
that broke
responses.
today, and I want to pass the question off to you. What
And I like that. Passing the torch, passing the question off to you. And I fuck with that. Let's read some of the comments on Philip DeFranco's video on the whole YouTube dislike thing. And Teddy Baldassar has commented on this, saying, as a creator and someone who has built a business off YouTube, I don't like the move to get rid of the dislike button. I know it's helpful for me as a user of the platform to see the like/dislike ratio when clicking on a video to determine whether or not it is worth continuing to watch. This is one of the first things people notice, and it helps sell your content before it begins. The dislike bombing of trolling is unfortunate, but in the vast majority of instances, I do think the dislike helps great channels separate from the competition and assist viewers in determining quickly if something is worth the long viewing. YouTube needs to bring back the 5-star system. Dude, that was such a throwback, man. I remember that. I remember when our channels had, like, you had the comment thing on the channel, you could like leave comment stuff here, and then they had this like YouTube banner that stretched out the entire page, and they had like anime like formats of it and these like really nice like fan made stuff, and you could create like your own template of your YouTube banner. It was so nice, dude. Throwback to the old days. But yeah, YouTube needs to bring back the 5-star system. The one that you saw in like old 2008, 2010 movies where they show YouTube as a platform. That was such a throwback. YouTube's mission is giving everyone a voice. Dislikes are voices. BS. Exactly. Like, dislikes are opinions. They do matter. And yes, it is unfortunate, like I said, that people are trolling and dislike bombing people's videos, but it is a part of why YouTube has a really good community, or a decent one, you know what I mean? It's one of the opinions that people have when it comes to other creators and stuff like that, whether or not you're like, hey, I dislike this video just because I couldn't really hear anything from your audio. And some people do genuinely give off good feedback, like, hey, this take seems a little biased. Like, for example, you're advertising this product to us and you're sponsored by so and so's company. So I get why you're giving a biased take when it comes to not buying this other product that's kind of similar but just cheaper in price. Like, just like that as an example. And it's really surprising out there. Like, people are actually rooting for each other to grow. Without the dislike button, how else will we see how much people hate YouTube Rewind? True. Man, YouTube Rewind fell off in like what, 2015, 2016? Ever since, man, it's been kind of a dumpster fire, not gonna lie. The dislike button is super useful when you're trying to shoot a computer or software issue and the video has a lot of dislikes. It's usually safe to move on to the next video. Exactly. Like, how do you not know that, like, this computer, whatever, recommending video when you're trying to, like, troubleshoot your computer is gonna lead you to some, like, malware site or some, like, alternative site that, like, is gonna fuck up your computer or make it worse. Like, it's true. And oh my god, that is so fucking bright. The Verge actually made an article about this, and it says YouTube gives dislikes the thumbs down, hides public counts. Creators will still be able to see how many people dislike their videos. And this is what it looks like. We saw it from the video as like a whole animated thing, but this is what it truly looks like from the experimental version. I still think it's very weird. It looks really fucking off to me. It looks so weird not having a number there. It just says dislike. Like, why the fuck? Why the fuck is this a thing? YouTube has announced that it'll be hiding the public dislike counts on videos across its site starting today. Wow, it is starting soon. The company says the change is to keep smaller creators from being... Yeah, but that's such a... I get, you know, larger creators... Yeah, I get it. Like, smaller creators, there's a ton out there. I'm included. But as a smaller creator, I feel like you should just opt out on this entire thing. I think it's just a really bad take on what YouTube should be in the future. And I think it's just going to be a downhill trend or a downhill spiral when it comes to this. I felt like that experiment gave a lot of people feedback. You know what I mean? It gave YouTube feedback on whether or not they should continue with this. It's like the whole Twitch thing. You know, I just literally covered the whole Twitch thing on whether or not implement the whole system with the Twitch boost, right? And if you guys want my short take on it, it's no, why the fuck would you implement that stupid ass system? Anyways, straying off topic. Comparison, just like that, like, there was a whole experiment on whether or not that was going to be a good thing for Twitch, the Twitch boost, and they completely drowned out all the fucking feedback that they had from the Twitch community. I'm pretty sure YouTube had a bunch of feedback from the whole hiding dislike thing when they're like experimenting from them, but they were only looking at these specific metrics on whether or not it benefits a creator with the quote-unquote views. Like, what the fuck does that even matter? I feel like this is catered to a small niche, and I get that small creators aren't a small niche because there's a shit ton of small creators out there trying to make it, including me, but YouTube's forgetting that everybody's an audience member on YouTube, whether they like it or not, and we're always looking at these advertisements. We're always looking at like these other creators doing whatever the fuck they're creating. And it's just it's a cycle. I don't think this is a good idea because, like, for an audience member's perspective, I think this is very dangerous. Not very dangerous, but to an extent it can be. It could definitely be a little dangerous. I'd rather take the stress when it comes to getting a dislike or two on my videos than getting the stress of fucking downloading some shitty ass software that definitely doesn't help troubleshoot my computer in the future. Hell, dude, like, even if, you know, that's not an example that fits towards you, there are definitely people out there that are susceptible to those type of things, especially like, you know, the older generation who aren't good with computers and they're looking up these tutorials and troubleshooting things, they could look if a video is right or not when they look at the dislike things. But what happens if there's no dislike system and there are bots spamming the like thing? Then, as an old folk, they might not know whether or not they're going to be downloading some type of dangerous malware from, this video that helps you troubleshoot their computer, or whether or not it deletes system 34, because that's kind of scuffed, not gonna lie. Blah, 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 help. Right here, this is the paragraph that won it for me when it came to this article. Dislike counts going private could help hide an embarrassing piece of YouTube history. The most disliked video on the entire site is the company's own Rewind from 2018. That particular recaps video sparked so much fire that YouTube recently announced that the annual Rewind videos were canceled. Dude, YouTube makes so much fucking money that like the 2018 video could have been so much fucking better. Also, an argument that not being able to see public dislikes could lead to users watching a video that's not very good. An insincere apology, perhaps, I was literally just talking about this. An insincere apology, perhaps, or informative looking content that ends up being an ad. Exactly. So people are going to find a way to have loopholes through this system. Still, YouTube's argument that it wants to protect smaller creators from dislike mobs or harassment is one of that's hard to argue it out. Still, YouTube's argument that it wants to protect smaller creators from dislike mobs or harassment is one that's hard to argue against. True. It's easy to imagine the workarounds for some of the other ideas that it has floated to combat this behavior, which included requiring extra info on why you were disliking the video or graying out the dislike button until you'd watch a certain amount of the video. Which, that's still kind of whack as well. Instead, people leaving dislikes will be doing so for the creator's eyes only, and screaming into the void just isn't the same as publicly booing. Exactly, dude. Let me fucking get my cart of rotten tomatoes and hurl it at the videos that I think are completely fucking garbage. Like, it's true. Like, you're literally doing the most ironic thing when it comes to creator growth on the platform, and you're throwing it in a fire and you're saying, fuck, it doesn't exist anymore. If YouTube's watching this, listen to the feedback your creators are giving you. I'm not gonna say we, but I'd say most of us, a good chunk of creators on this platform, would rather have YouTube, toss away this whole removal of the dislike button system. You should just continue with the entire system that you have right now. It's just maybe implement a system when it comes to accounts having whether it's bot accounts or troll accounts having multiple dislikes in a row, you know what I mean? Because yeah, it could be a little off that like an account could have maybe 10 dislikes in a row because they hate a certain creator, you know what I mean? Like, maybe have a count like that could or a system like that could combat those type of trolls or those type of bots, when it comes to their account specifically, not as the community as a whole when it comes to removing the dislike feature, but an account specifically geared towards hate and trolling and dislike bombing. Maybe implementing a system on that account or accounts across the platform that if they have a certain amount of dislikes in a row, they have to write some sort of thing, or they have to fill out this thingy-majiggy, kind of like this entire thing when it comes to the requiring extra info on why you're disliking the video when it comes to multiple dislikes in a row on an account. And yeah, that could be abused. You could like a video, but when it comes to having I don't know, for an example, 3 or 5 dislikes in a row on, especially when it comes to the same creator, maybe YouTube should implement a system to combat that. This is the entire thing. That's my coffee roast on it. I know it's a little long of a video. I'm gonna splice it down a little bit. The sun has set. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. This has been Coffee Talks with your boy Leaving Sunset, aka Michael. Gonna be uploading some more content soon. Lost Ark video, the finale, the last episode of it. Day 4 is releasing tomorrow. See you guys then.